Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 15 around the NFL. It's almost over for the year. It's kind of crazy that we've got to this point. There's championships wrapping up this week. Jeff might win a title. Well, it looks like he's going to win the Dynasty League we're in. We'll find out. We'll know for sure when we record our final mailbag show of the year on Tuesday. It'll be our final one. We'll know if Jeff's a champ this year. So I am not. I'm not a champ this year. I didn't really make any playoffs. It's been a bad year. But hey, I will say this: football's been more enjoyable the last 2 weeks. Honestly, it's a lot.
Fantasy, you can finally root for a team instead of players.
Yeah, except my team sucks, so that's not good.
I don't know how enjoyable that is.
But we got 7 games we're going to go over today. On tomorrow's episode, we're going to go over the remainder of the week in the game. So we're going to start this one off. Buccaneers Falcons is the first one we have. Bucs win 31-27 to go to 9-5. It looks like they're going to be a playoff team now for sure. With that, Tom Brady throws 2 touchdowns on the day off 31-45, 390. I mean, kind of expected of playing against the Falcons. That wasn't really too much of a surprise, I would say. Evans caught 6 of those balls for 110. Brown caught 5 of them for 93 and a touchdown, a big 46-yard touchdown. And Godwin only was 4 for 36, but at least he got 1 touchdown. But Antonio Brown emerges a little bit today, so that's been waiting to see if that would happen. And a little better game there. Leonardo Fournette plays for the injured Ronald Jones. It wasn't overly impressive, yardage numbers, 14 for 49, but the 2 touchdowns were huge if you played Leonard Fournette. And that's what he can do. But Leonard Fournette really, truly is just a disappointment in a way, in just general football. I mean,
yeah,
he fell quick. I mean, he gets 2 touchdowns. It's good for this, but it took a Ronald Jones injury to get to this point.
Yeah, without a doubt. But they need depth. It'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward with that team. Yeah. I don't think. I mean, Ronald Jones has been much better, but yeah. I am not sure that he has it locked up quite yet.
Yeah, I'm still not completely bought in on Ronald Jones. He's impressed me this year compared to what I expected from him, but I'm not all the way there yet.
Not to mention, I mean, this team is strange, right? Because they have so many older, very good players that are probably just outside of their prime. Yep. You still have a lot of key pieces that they want to keep a hold of. But it'll be interesting, even depending on what happens to them in the playoffs. Like if they get bounced early, does that strategy change at all? Who's going to be on the team even next year? That is the very interesting thing about having an older, wiser team. I don't know what you want to call it to give it a good twist. They're a very good team, but if they don't win it, things will probably get shifted around anyway.
It's crazy to think of the names on this team, like Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, LaShawn McCoy. Like it's insane. Can you imagine getting all those people in their prime? That'd be something different. But just a lot of names on this one. For the Falcons today, Matt Ryan had a good game, 34 for 49, 356 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, this is Matt Ryan, though. You don't know which one you're going to get. You just don't know. But that's why I can't start him. Calvin Ridley, though, massive game for him. 10 for 163 and a touchdown. Gage was 5 for 68 and a touchdown. Hurst caught himself a touchdown as 2. Ito Smith had the most carries on the team. This is ugly. This ground game is ugly. 6 for 24 for Ito Smith. Brian Hill, 5 carries for -2. Todd Gurley gets 1 carry for -1 yard. Caught 2 balls for 15.
Yeah. They can't run the ball. And at this point, it feels like they're packing it in a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much at this point.
I mean, as much as Todd Gurley hasn't been, amazing. He was definitely better in the first half of the season. It does make you wonder. Like Ito Smith is clearly not. I feel like he's not that much better than Gurley, even when Gurley is playing like this. So him only getting 1 carry feels to me like we have to throw the ball anyway. Like let's not pound it with Gurley.
Next up, Cowboys beat the 49ers 41-33. Andy Dalton threw 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard starts for the injured Zeke today and goes 12 for 69, a 5.8 yard per carry. Solid. 2 touchdown runs. Catches 6 balls for 63 yards. And a lot better than Zeke ever did. That's for sure.
I truly wonder this, right? And this isn't like jumping off of the bandwagon really quick because Zeke is still a very good player. But obviously, you're going to have to pay Dak. That's what you found out, right? Even after that injury, you see that your team does not run nearly as well without him. You have a lot of weapons as far as wide receivers, and then Zeke without him, obviously he's still a premier player, but he didn't answer the call, if you will, for whatever reason, probably not all of his fault. But then you put Tony Pollard in here, and he looks good. In his one game, San Fran's D has not been what it is. I'm not giving him like all the credit in the world, but he had a decent game.
Yep.
Do you think there's a chance that you look to unload a player like Zeke in order to afford other players that are going to need larger contracts?
In some situations, I could see the team doing that. I don't feel like Jerry Jones is going to do that after paying Zeke what he did. I just don't know if Jerry Jones makes that move.
I don't know if you can even unload a player like that. No,
but this it's really just starts to show that paying these running backs is a risky thing to do. I mean, this game or the last game with Gurley, the way the Rams paid Gurley, that didn't work out. Cowboys paid Zeke. Is it? I don't know if it's working out. It doesn't feel like it's working out.
Yeah, Jets paid Bell.
Yeah, it just
didn't work out.
It just doesn't seem to be the move to make. Player like Melvin Gordon holds out for a deal, and he's kind of average too. He's above average, but nothing special. I mean, paying running backs, I don't know. This doesn't feel like a way to do things. For San Francisco, the quarterback situation it's Nick Mullins with 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. CJ Beathard came in 5 for 7, 100 yards and touchdown. I mean, those numbers look impressive, but it's whatever at this point. Yeah. Mostert 14 for 68. I think he left the game with an injury at some point. Not sure. Some ankle injury. So I'm not sure what that's going to mean for next week. But Jeff Wilson played 16 carries, 60 yards, got a touchdown as well there. Brandon Nyuk, 9 for 73, got himself a touchdown. He was up there in the ranks this week. He had 13 targets, so it shows why he was ranked so highly. Solid outing. Kendrick Bourne 4 for 86 and a touchdown. So, yeah, San Francisco, they were just bit by injuries this year. I think they'll bounce back next year and be a lot better team than this. So.
Yeah, I think that is going to be one of the takeaways from this year, especially as soon as you see everyone getting healthy. I think they're going to be undervalued because of that. And we've already seen it with, Brandon Ayuk has come out and performed while he's had the opportunity. I think he's going to be a very solid play next year. And then obviously you get Debo back, hopefully for an entire year. You get Kittle back. Yep. And then obviously Garoppolo as well. I'm not as high in Garoppolo because I think this is still a run first team, but he finally will have weapons in order to throw to. So I do think everyone's stock goes up a bit. And then we'll find out what happens with the backfield. But you would have to believe that Mostert will still be the guy. And hopefully he's healthy. And man, I don't know. They'll probably still have a lot of running backs they use, but every time he comes back, he does look a little bit better than everyone else there.
We have Titans beat up on the Lions 46-25. Ryan Tanhilf, 21-27, 273, threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for 2 touchdowns. Monster game for Tannehill. And actually running for 2 touchdowns takes away from Henry, who could have even had Henry's game could have been insane again, which is still an awesome game. 24 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, Derrick Henry's just running through people right now. I mean, this guy, he's good. I feel like I've never truly given him credit over the years, and he's really showing it now. He's over 1,500 yards for the year again. Just a great season. Oh, hey, Jeff, good for you to know. Nick Chubb just scored a touchdown.
Oh, yes.
There goes Jeff for his Dynasty League title.
Yeah.
That probably won it right there. It did. It put you at 99% chance of victory. You now have the lead. Yep, you're good.
I have the lead. Okay, yeah. I was going to say unless Hunt goes off at the end and then Roethlisberger has like the worst game tomorrow, I should have it, but I never want to jinx myself. I've seen it before where you're like, I'm down 10, I have a quarterback, I'm going to win. and then he has a crap first half, and then he gets injured, and you're just like shell shocked. So I don't.
Or you have Kirk Cousins 3 years ago, and he just needs 15 points, and he can't pull it off.
Yeah, I've seen worse happen, so I don't want to get ahead of myself.
God,
but
that would happen live on a podcast.
3 and 5 years would be something.
Yeah, that happened on a podcast as well while we were recording. But some bad stuff happened to me. For the receivers here for Tennessee, Corey Davis, 4 for 110. He got a 75-yard touchdown. So one of our listeners, David, I believe we told him. We talked about Corey Davis on the mailbag show with him. Corey Davis had burned him earlier in the year when we told him to play him. Pretty sure he rolled with him this time. So
you gave him one more chance, and it worked out.
Jonnu Smith 5 for 52. AJ Brown 5 for 44, but gets himself a touchdown.
Dude, that guy truly knows how to find the end zone.
He does. He really does. For the Lions, Stafford went 22 of 32, 252, a touchdown. He was a surprise start today. I did not expect to see him playing, but he does, and they did pull him. I'm guessing just injury concerns there at the end. Deandre Swift, 15 carries, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns. So if you played Swift, it was a good week. I'm expecting good things from Swift next year. I think he's shown me some stuff that he can be a good player. But now I just worry about the injury bug. It feels like it hits Lions players, and that's my worry now. For Swift next year.
I mean, it's always a worry, especially for running back, but he has shown enough. And I thought this was going to be earlier in the year, that they kind of hand off the keys and say, it's your backfield now. But I think next year is going to be truly that. They'll obviously have people behind him, but he will be the guy there. And I think he'll really get an opportunity to see what he can do with lead back responsibility. So he is going to be one that his stock is going to move up drastically. Luckily, he's on a really crap team that I happen to love for no reason, I guess. But that might actually drive his value down a little bit. So I think that he might be a very gettable player next year. That will be the fun part to kind of figure out.
And for the receivers, it was Marvin Jones, 10 for 112 and a touchdown. Big game for Marvin Jones. That's about it for good receiving games there. Again, no Galladay. I mean, I'm sure at this point he's just not coming back for the year. No. Which he shouldn't. Hawkinson, man. Ooh, Hawkinson, 2 for 18 and a fumble to make it a negative score.
That's a brutal one because he was in top five for almost everyone as far as tight ends, because that's how it goes with tight end. And that one is a killer.
It really was it's a rough one there. Colts beat the Texans 27-20. Colts are 10-4. That's a really solid season. The AFC has a lot of good teams right now. Where if the playoffs started today, Baltimore would be out of the playoffs. That is
outside
nuts.
Looking in.
That's within the expanded playoffs these days. There's one extra team in the playoffs now this year, and Baltimore is still in the outside looking in, even after that win against the Browns.
And they were looking hot forever, and then so it's going to be a really fun end of the year to try to figure out who's in and who's out. And not too many of these teams can really take their foot off the gas, which is a lot of fun to watch.
NFC's almost set, not quite set, but there's not that much drama. Maybe one position, like Cardinals have a game lead over maybe the Bears or something like that, but not much drama there. For the Colts here today, Rivers 22 of 28, 228, 2 touchdowns. I mean, I got to give it to Rivers. He's been solid recently.
He really cut back on the interceptions, which in just real football, right? I think that is allowing these, this team to win. And on top of that, you're about to get to him, but Jonathan Taylor, I don't know if he was hurt or what, but that little stretch in the middle of the season when everyone was scratching their head, I have no idea what that was all about, because 16 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown, it feels like, and then 4 catches for 12 yards, but it does feel like he's back in that lead primary back role, and he's doing very well at it. 5.2, yards per carry.
It is
great.
It was just a weird stretch. I don't know what it was, but hey, it's working out now. And then for the receivers, Zack Pascal, 5 for 79, 2 touchdowns today. T.Y. Hilton, 4 for 71. Not as big of a day for T.Y. Hilton he's been giving, but still, that's actually better than what we were looking at earlier in the year with T.Y. Hilton. So I would have taken that as a bad day, early on. For Houston, Deshaun Watson had a pretty solid game here, 33 of 41, 373, 2 touchdowns. He threw them to Chad Henson and Kiki QT. But the leading receiver on the day was David Johnson, 11 catches for 106. What is this? Is this 2016 Arizona Cardinal David Johnson? what the heck happened here?
I'm not sure why they didn't do this earlier in the year either.
Right.
I mean,
like they
you
still
definitely
lose,
don't want
but
him to be the I was gonna say you don't want him to be the lead receiver, but at the same time, it worked very, very well. And what about, and he did not get targeted that many times, but Chad Henson in the last few games has really made himself available to Watson. Like he is actually kind of putting himself in a position where maybe he can play a bigger role next year. You don't know, you'll get people back, but everyone likes a guy that's kind of scrappy and can play the slot and even a little bit outside that finds a way to get open. Maybe that is just that defenses aren't accounting for him, but who knows? It's just a name that has been thrown around quite a bit.
Then next up, Dolphins, Patriots. Dolphins win 22-12 to officially end the Patriots' playoff chances on the year. It's officially over for the Patriots. Tua went 20 of 26, 145, no touchdowns and a pick. Salvin Ahmad comes back. Like, I don't understand this backfield here. It's crazy. They're all over the place. So Gaskin's out now. Ahmed comes back, 23 carries, 122 yards, a touchdown. And Matt Breida, that's the best we've seen from him, 12 for 86.
Finally gave him that. The funny part too. They ran the ball a lot.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know what they're trying to tell us about Tua, but
yeah, I know, right?
But it is good to see him do something because we were completely off on the backfield and how that was going to shake out. That's a hard part. But this team is, how are they 9-5? You look at Salvin Ahmad is their lead running back. And Durham Smith led them. Lynn Bowden Jr. was the number 2 wide receiver. I have no idea. Like their defense is that good, but it's just kind of cracks me up. Like they've made the best of their situation.
Well, yeah, 9-5, solid year.
9-5, and you bet. It's so funny that they went to 2 halfway through the year. Right? Still. Like that still blows my mind.
For the Patriots, ugliness today for them, really. 12 points, just not a good day. Cam Newton, 17 of 27, 209. Cam Newton will not be a starting quarterback in the NFL next year. I think we know this at this point, right? There's no way he sticks around. How would they bring him back? He showed early on, like first couple of games, they were using him correctly and it was looking good, and then it just went downhill.
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, if they don't draft one, but there's definitely a few QBs that were on 1-year contracts, and then there'll be more.
Do they go try to get Carson Wentz or something?
Actually, Carson Wentz would work. I think he would work really well in that system. Cam Newton, you're trying to fit him in, and we were kind of hoping, obviously, that with Belichick being a football genius, if you will, was going to be able to figure out a way to use him correctly. Like you said, sometimes they did, sometimes it didn't work, but that is, you're definitely flipping that coin with Cam when you have this type of team. Just to finish it out, Jacoby Myers actually did have a nice game, receiving 7 catches for 111 yards. Other than that, James White 4 for 52. Other than that, not a whole lot going on.
Sony Michel randomly gets 10 carries for 74.
Yeah. Well, Damian Harris was out,
but looked solid in that bit.
Yeah, they do have a couple. Damian Harris and Sony Michel. Once again, I don't think that their backfield or running game is going to get less confusing going into next year.
No,
I still think Damian Harris will probably be the guy, but I don't know what that means for the Patriots. We'll have to wait and find out how much. Like, obviously, I'm sure Belichick right now is just miserable because he was 11 years in a row that he's made the playoffs. Is it really that long, or am I off on that?
They've only missed the playoffs once, I believe, in this entire stretch since 2000. What was it, 2001? I believe
2000. Oh wow!
When they started, they missed the only year they
could be.
The only year they missed the playoffs was the year Brady was out with the ACL. It was the ACL, I think, and Matt Castle was their starter. They went 11-5 that year.
And missed it by a game.
Yeah. They missed it with the tiebreaker. That was the only year they haven't made the playoffs in that run.
That is mind-blowing. And so it has to hurt very badly to know that the 2 times that you don't make the playoffs, you're without Tom Brady.
Well, and they just didn't look good. They haven't looked good this year. They're not a good team, like, whatsoever.
No, definitely are not. But even though, like, I'm sure that he's not over there thinking, that. And I'm sure he's not just like, I'm without Tom. I'm sure it's all like perception, right? Like, I'm sure he wanted to do it the same way Brady wants to do it. I'm sure they, it's nothing but love, maybe, I don't know, but I'm sure that they want to win without their counterpart that everyone associates with, and especially with Brady having big game, throwing that late touchdown to Antonio Brown, and probably going to the playoffs. You feel a little like absolved, and then that same day, Belichick officially gets bounced and his team just doesn't look good. I don't know what.
It can't be good for Belichick. He can't feel good about it, but I don't know. They were good for a long time, and I don't know how they kept making it work because they weren't getting good draft picks. These players weren't working out. It's been like N'Keal Harry in the first round ended up being a terrible pick, and the other things like this. And I think they got. I don't know. I think Tom Brady was pretty good, honestly. Good defense in Tom Brady, and
without a doubt. And I think the special thing that has been New England for the past decade. And the thing that I really appreciate about them, first of all, they're not afraid to trade back into the draft and find guys that will fit their system, but they only pay the guys they can't replace, right? They would pay Brady, even though he probably could have got paid more, but they pay him, they pay Gronk, they pay their offensive line, a few of those guys, and then a few key defensive players. But anytime a CB, got too big of name recognition, he wanted that big contract, he's gone. Anytime, so they never did that. But I think they've lost too many key players, and not to mention that defense. People forget this. I mean, even I have to remind, but that defense should be a lot better than they are this year. They had like 3 key players that opted out.
Yeah, they did
because for whatever reason, obviously health concerns and everything like that. So next year, I don't know what their contracts look like, but next year they should be a lot better immediately. So if they get that offense going in the right direction, they'll have a better draft pick.
They need a better quarterback.
It could be exactly. They could be a completely different team. They could be I'll say relatively, but they could be a very good team. Truly,
definitely. Next up, Bears beat the Vikings here 33-27. Trubisky 15-21, 202, a touchdown and a pick. The stories: David Montgomery continues to be, a fantasy star here down the stretch. 32 carries, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. He just continues to get it done here. His schedule's been favorable. I mean, you kind of knew he would have a decent stretch. I guess I didn't expect this. This is the best. I mean, obviously the best this guy's played in his career. And next week he plays Jacksonville, so it's not going to slow down next week. I mean, David Montgomery might be winning some championships for people this year. Then Allen Robinson 4 for 83, and Mooney was 4 for 49 and a touchdown. So yeah, David Montgomery, honestly, he's going to be on a bunch of championship teams. I could just see that happening for sure. Then,
it is funny though, because when you look at it, I mean, the fact that he got 32 carries should definitely be one of the larger things. But the last 4 games you talked about, he scored 1 rushing touchdown up into, I'm trying to think what week that was. I mean, through the Green Bay game. So in like the last 3 games, he scored like 5 rushing touchdowns, and then all the rest of the season he had 1. And just showing the complete turn that they've made with Trubisky and the way that they're playing ball. Because 32 rushes is pretty ridiculous for anyone, let alone someone that had been struggling earlier in the year. I think they finally figured out, like, Trubisky, don't turn the ball over. We're just going to try to pound it out again. And they're getting back to winning, which was good because Vikings they're a decent team.
And for the Vikings here, Cousins threw for 271, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Justin Jefferson was 8 for 104. Conklin caught a touchdown, and Adam Thielen did catch a touchdown, but it was only 2 for 11. Not much else there for the touchdown saves yet. And then it's just another solid game from Dalvin Cook. 24 carries, 132 yards, and touchdown. He's just good.
I love 132 yards is just solid now.
Solid.
We expect so much out of that guy.
He's had a great season. Just continues to be. And I think he's going to be the number 1 running back on the year, and then probably Henry right behind him. They're 1-2. So don't know who's going to actually finally end the year out number 1 there. Then final game for us on this show today, Seahawks, Washington. Seahawks win 20-15. But again, it's like this offense has not been the same. I mean, they clinched a playoff berth. They're 10-4. But this is not the same Russell Wilson we had early on in the year where he was just lighting up the scoreboard. 18 of 27, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. DK Metcalf was 6 of 43, Lockett 4 for 34. Jacob Hollister caught the 1 touchdown. Chris Carson, 15 carries, 63 yards. Carlos Hyde got a 50-yard touchdown, so he had a solid day there. But I don't know what happened to Russell Wilson in this offense last week. He played the Jets. That was different. But you take away the Jets game, and it's really not been a great second half of the season for for Russell Wilson, honestly.
No,
at least fantasy wise.
Fantasy wise, they're 10-4, they're fine. But I guess my question to you, because of, and that's not a isolated event. Usually after one game, we're kind of like, don't worry about it. Even for someone like Metcalf and Russell Wilson, 2-3 games, even where you're sticking with them. Yep. At this point, though, if you're going into that last game and somehow you've made it through, right? Even if you're playing these guys, do you put Russell Wilson into your lineup? Do you play Metcalf? There's usually more depth on these teams. It's quite possible that you have a player that would be in the same vicinity of them, and if they're hot and he's not,
I'd have a hard time not playing Metcalf. I think he can go off. Wilson, I would also probably have a hard time not playing him, but there are situations where you can see, like maybe you picked up Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts has been good. If you picked up a Jalen Hurts, what do you do? I would think in most situations you're probably playing him, and they got you here. You're probably rolling with them, but not in every situation. I'm not saying it's not just the automatic start. You have to look at who you have. But you could definitely have Jalen Hurts if you have Russell Wilson, and maybe you play Jalen Hurts. DK, I think DK's in my lineup.
Yeah, no matter what. He's been okay. He just hasn't been a monster like he was. Yeah, it's really only been the past 4 games for him that he's come down to earth. He hasn't been bad, but at the same time, it's not what you've expected out of him. So it'll be interesting. On the other side, which is crazy. They're 6-8. The Giants right now are playing in order to find out if they overtake them, because they would have
it's not looking likely for the Giants.
Yeah, not looking likely. Probably won't. So this is a playoff-bound team probably. Dwayne Haskins gets the start. He attempts 55 passes. He ends up with 295 yards, 1 TD with 2 interceptions. And McLaurin, 7 for 77. Logan Thomas is one of the big things. Obviously, 13 catches for 101 as a tight end. And then the other one is one of your guys that you like to kind of throw in there every once in a while, J.D. McKissick. 13 carries for 51 yards, which is just whatever. But they threw it to him 10 times. He caught 9 of them for 56 yards and a touchdown.
He's honestly been
about him.
I think, especially if Antonio Gibson's back next week, things could change a little bit. But in PPR leagues, J.D. McKissick's a start completely. He's easily a start in PPR. And in standard leagues, if Gibson's not there next week, I think you play him. He's getting those catches, man. He's getting that. He's getting enough work. But I think PPR is a sure thing. In standard, start him. He can start, but if Antonio Gibson's there, it's not as easy to start him for sure. But he's been one of those interesting players. You could kind of see it coming on for a bit there when he was getting catches and targets, and then it's just been even better here lately. So solid season for J.D. McKissick. Didn't really expect that. But all right, that's about all we have for this one. We'll be back tomorrow's episode with the 4 remaining Sunday games. Plus, we'll talk about the 2 Saturday games as well and go over all that for you. All right, talk to you guys then.